I guess this was the funniest imposter I've encountered on FB. I get a message from the grave. He said hello. I look at the profile pic and ask, "Who are you?" He said, "Is me, George Jones." As a side note, famous country singer George Jones died in 2013. The conversation had started with, quote, "Is me, George Jones," when I asked who this was, and he said he was good. I would think so, since the real man's been dead for over a decade. I told him I'm doing great. Just got back from my monthly casino hopping trip where I gave away 120 Apple gift cards. He would not answer me right away, and a day would pass before he replied. He would then ask if I was still there and how I'm doing. George said he was here for me and asked about the Apple cards if I had any. I told him I had given them all away at the casino, and he asked if I've chatted with George Jones before. I told him Monday was the first time with him and I chatted. He asked how many years I've been my fan. I told him I've been a fan since I was a teenager and that my mom had listened to his music and that my dad had installed the plumbing in his house back in the day. George said wow and asked which song I love the most. I told him the song He Stopped Loving Her Today. George replied asking for my photo, and I sent him a picture and he said he has a special package for me. I asked him what he's talking about. George sent me a warehouse picture with boxes and a generic picture of a delivery man holding a box. He said he had received the package for me today to deliver it, that it is a money gift. I told him I don't need any money and asked him what's inside the boxes. He said a t-shirt and fan card. Well, I was confused as he had sent me a photo of a bunch of boxes, and I asked him if all those boxes had t-shirts in them, and he said yes, and a fan card. He asked if I'm interested in receiving the packages, and I told him no, give it to someone else. He stopped talking and then returned at a later time asking what I was doing. I told him I was making fundraising baskets for school. George asked if I got the iTunes cards too, and I told him I know the manufacturer for Apple and the cards, and if they were rejected, I have a bunch of them because the rejected cards said they were worth $50, but turns out they were really worth $500 cards. George Jones was suddenly very interested in the cards and asked if I can send him photos of them. "Send it. Are you there? Send the card," he said. "Send me the photo front and back." When I asked him why, he said he wants to see them. I told him, no, they're in sealed envelopes. He again asked for me to send the cards. I asked him what the point was to send him pictures of the cards, and he said he will use the card to upload it to his studio and asked if I understand. I told him the cards are for kids in school for my school fundraiser. It's a fundraiser, I said, and I asked, does he even know what a fundraiser is? I told him to go buy himself a card, and he said he, quote, ain't got out the weather is bad, and sent a video of a storm. I asked where he is, and he said California. I gave him the website to buy his own Apple cards online if he wants, and he asked what that was. I told him, buy your own card without leaving home. George Jones said he can't. I told him, well, give me your info, I'll get it for you. He then asked me to just send a card and if I was going to send it or not. I asked him if he was seriously George Jones, and if I know it's the real you, I'll send you $1,000 Apple card. He said, quote, am real George Jones, am real. Are you calling me an imposters? Believe me, am real. I told him, I need proof. He said to believe him and trust him, and am not imposter, he said. I told him, okay. He kept repeating, I need the card, baby. I told him to give me a minute to order them and asked where he wants them sent and how much does he need. He said, send it in a message, and he wants $500 in Apple cards, he said. I asked again where to send it to and how do I email it to you. I told him I'm busy and I need to go, and we can wait till tomorrow. George Jones replied to send it now, do it now, send it, send the card. I told him I'm busy, and he kept saying over and over again, "Send the card. I need an email," I told him. And he said, "You send it now, send it email." I told him, "When you open an account online, you need an email to make the purchase." George was losing patience, and he told me to use my own email. Do it now. I told him, "No, I'll do it tomorrow. I don't have time." He told me, "Well, send it tomorrow," and asked when and where. I told him, "Forget it. I don't need to worry about a rich man's problems." George asked why I was saying such things, and "Do it now. Send the card." I told him, "No, you have maids, a wife. You can get your own cards. That's not my problem." Fake George replied that "It's not my problem, baby. Send the card. I need the card, baby. $500 card now." I told him to wait 5 minutes. Then I told him to go get a job and stop impersonating a dead celebrity, and he's not very good, as the real George Jones has been dead for over a decade, and sent him a picture of George Jones's headstone. He said, "That George Jones is his father." He said, "Am his son. My father is dead. Why are you saying this? Did I scam you?" I told him he's not very good at this, and he asked why, what happened. He is Brian Jones. I told him it was nice to meet him. He then sent a picture of Brian Jones, one of the founding members of the Rolling Stones, who died in 1969. I let him know that Brian Jones, who is not George Jones' son, was a musician who died in the 60s. I told him I usually give imposters a chance to come clean, and then I help them and block them. And if he was an imposter and he said so, it would be different, but he's too stubborn to come clean, so I'll just block you. And I told him to have a good day. Honestly, he wasn't very good at this. Story 2. I received a message from someone calling themselves the George Strait private page. I was told that I'd been randomly picked by Jason Aldean, another country singer, and he will be giving me $200,000 from the giveaway program this month, and asked if I was ready to get my winnings. I asked if I was ready to get my winnings for what, and asked if he was the real George Strait, and he said, "Yeah." I told him that I was pranked this morning, and I sent him a photo of a stack of money. He said he was not the one who did that, okay? He said he is the real George Strait manager. I asked which manager, and he said he is his FedEx manager for George Strait. He said George bought a share at FedEx, and now he makes him manage FedEx. I told him that George didn't tell me that, as George was supposed to buy into our Apple gift card iTunes business and casino. George's so-called manager asked if I'm ready for my winnings, and I told him, sure. He said I need to activate my winnings, and I asked him, how so? I told him my driver won't be back till the morning, and he told me I need to buy a $500 eBay and a $500 Razor Gold card to activate my winnings. He said once I obtain the cards, I'll receive my winnings in 2 hours' time once I hand over the cards. I told him I called the real George Strait to pick the cards up and bring them to me, and he asked if I was kidding. He told me to go to the store and just buy the cards. I said no, the real George will be here in 15 minutes, and I don't drive. He asked if I'm George Strait in my family's. I told him I'll give George the money back, and he told me I just need to go get the card. I told him, yeah, we're related. He asked if I had a debit card, and I told him no. He asked if I have a bank card, and again I told him no, I don't need one. He asked if I use a bank, and I told him yes. My accountant handles my money, and George has $500. He asked why I don't have a bank card, and I told him I don't need one. He asked if I have a credit card, and I told him I don't think so. He then told me to send it to him as he has nothing to do with it. I kept telling the real George Strait is on his way. He told me he just wants to help me link the credit card to my new FedEx account. I told him no, I won't do that without contacting a lawyer, and he laughed and said, "A lawyer on what?" I told him to check and see if it's valid to link my card. He asked if I was getting the 2 cards for him, and I told him that George Strait is bringing it to me. He told me to scratch the back of the cards and send pictures of the cards front and back with the code so he can activate my winnings. I let him know that the real George Strait has arrived at my home and he has the card, but it'll be 10 minutes and he has no clue why you, his manager, asked for it. He said he was surprised that I won this special giveaway. I asked the fake manager how I won, as I didn't register for a giveaway. He said I was among the winners. He said my name was on a list, and I asked him a list for what. He said maybe someone apply you for winning list. I told him I bet George Strait himself added me to the list, and I asked to see his FedEx badge. The fake George Strait manager then sent me a fake certificate with my name and a FedEx logo, which was poorly made. I again asked for his badge, and I was, after all, making him work for his imaginary cards. He wanted the card, and I told him George Strait had went to the bathroom, and then he sent me a poorly made FedEx badge with his name on it. While he was showing me this poorly made badge, I told him that George Strait came out of the bathroom, and he said he's never heard of any kind of FedEx winnings, and it must be a scam, that you're not my manager. The fake manager said, "No, that can't be. Show me George." The scammer tried to video call, and then I asked for his ID, and he kept trying to video call before ending the chat. We'd like to thank you for sharing these stories. We have a really nice lady who encounters a lot of fake celebrities, and she's generous enough to share her stories, and they're very funny. Her and her imaginary husband own imaginary casinos, and so all the scammers kind of hone in on her. Just remember that real celebrities are not giving away gift cards or special prizes, and they don't need you to buy anything or buy them gift cards. Real celebrities have assistants and people that can help them. They don't need you, an everyday person, to buy them things. If you've had an encounter with a fake online celebrity and you'd like to share your story, you can find us scamming@gmail.com, or you can find us on FB Scamming Cyber Education. Our inbox is there as well. You can drop us some information, share your story, any screenshots, and we can narrate your story into a video. Until next time, stay safe. And as much as we'd like to think that George Strait and famous country singers that have died 10 years ago are still on social media looking for our super fans, the truth is it's not. It's romance scammers and scammers trying to take your money. Take care.